So, first of all, what's next? We all here together, Ross Kenneth, Ted Higgins, myself, and our CEO. He is present at this moment as well. And we'll take you to the slideshow that we've prepared for you guys to see what is going on at this moment right now. Costa, Blanca, and Valencia real estate market analysis, as you can see. We are taking over for the numbers of the real estate transactions in the Comunidad Valenciana in 2019. As we can see, before the crisis that we had, or we entered in 2006, at that moment we had 142,000 sales at that moment. As you all can see, that has been crashed down, but actually crashed down up till 2009 when we had a total of 57,500 at that moment. As you all can see, in 2019, we were between 2018 and 2019, we were already set at the 85,000 sales at that moment. Okay, so as you all can see, we went into a crisis. We lowered down, but we headed up once again over the entire years from 2009 up to 2018. We've been able to make a better sale for more than 20,000 sales a year. So that's quite a positive view on the things that we were heading to. As we can see at this moment, the average value of the real estate transactions in the Comunidad Valenciana would be around 2008, when we were at the highest pound in the crisis at that moment. The value of the properties were around 165,000-66,000 euros. And as you can see, during that crisis, we had quite a depression up until 2013, when we dropped the lowest button of the value of the properties at that moment. So if we can see, within those years, we dropped down more than 50,000 euros of value. But as we can see, from that moment on, up until right now, as we speak, 2019, we made a positive evolution from 112,000 euros of value of the properties up to 131,000 euros. All right. The numbers of property transactions that we have in the 3 quarters of 2019 in the Comunidad Valenciana. So the value of the properties that we had at that moment, the majority of that was between 0 and 150,000 euros. So the majority of the clients at that moment had a budget to purchase a property up until 150,000 euros. As you can see, we have different kind of amounts as well. So the small part that we have above the 150,000 euros up to 300,000 euros, that should be in the orange section. In the gray section, we also can see that we have 300,000 up to 450,000 euros. And in the yellow section, we see the amount of 450,000 up to 600,000. All the rest above the 600,000 is a small bit that we were still heading over. So in the main view that we have for this circle that we see is that the majority of the clients were interested in buying a property in the area of the Comunidad Valenciana in Alicante and Valencia, separated, are still between 0 and 150,000 euros. If we're heading on to the next sheet, so what will be the conclusion on the real estate transactions in the Costa Blanca and Valencia? First of all, the number of the real estate transactions did not reach the peak of 2006, but was growing steadily. So that we could see we had to drop from 2006. And then we had a slightly growing up until 2019. The real estate market may decline, but by no more than 20% to the level of the 2008 market. And this is the most pessimistic forecast in our part. So it's not optimistic after all. It's just a realistic state of view that we have at this moment, what we can see of those digits right now. So the average value of the real estate is 1 year behind the decrease in real estate transactions on the schedules observed, and direct dependence is seen. All right. Conclusions on the real estate transactions in the Costa Blanca and Valencia. So, as we all know, we had the crisis, the crisis of 2008, and the current crisis situation have two big differences. Be aware of that, because one crisis is not the same as the other crisis, okay? So, if we see the crisis of 2008, what do we have? The destruction of the bank system. As we all know, it collapsed like a card house. It was a really, really devastating situation at that moment. And why did we have that kind of devastation moment? Because the strong overheating of the real estate market due to cheap loans and the lending up to 110, 120% of the property values. So that made the bank system crash down because they were lending out money that actually wasn't there to get paid off, okay? That in combination with that the people didn't have their own savings. So that's the reason why they went to the bank and they loaned more than 110, 120% of the value of the property. And of course, the reduced demand and the focus on the basic needs. So the difference between the crisis of 2008 and this coronavirus crisis that we have right now, it's not getting into a crisis, but we know where we're heading to. So the major positive side of this crisis is that because of the knowledge that we had of the crisis in 2008, is that at this moment, we have a stable financial system. And also the state assistance to vulnerable groups of the population. So individual entrepreneurs, renters, they get their aid, they get their assistance to get out of the major problem that we have right now. And of course, because of that crisis that we had, a lot of people, they started to save their money. So they have actually their savings, okay? Real estate market statistics by foreign buyers, okay? So this will give you a view on what type of nationality, what type of European or worldwide clients invest in our Costa Blanca and the area where we're heading to. So as you can see, we have this diagram, and we can see that in 2007, we were still, the numbers of the real estate transactions completed by foreigners at that moment was between 28 and 24,000 clients who purchased and who bought a property in Spain, okay? As you can see, the curve is slowing down up to 2009. So we made a major drop from 2006 from 29,000 purchases, 29,000 people who bought a property over there, up to 6,800. So that was the lowest part at that moment of the crisis, okay? But after all, you can see the increasement of the interested clients that wanted to buy the property in Spain, okay? So it's an increasement that goes quite well. As well at this moment, it doesn't need to be a terrifying feeling that we have right now for the corona crisis, for example, that people are scared to invest or to purchase their dreams or what they had in mind. So don't be scared of the situation right now that we have, because as we can see, and that's the main thing that we realize right now, is that people all over, they love digits, they love numbers, they want to see numbers. And the numbers that we have right now was always in a positive way, that actually in 2018 we were heading to the same numbers of the selling of properties that we had before the major bank crisis in Spain in 2006. So we were heading to a point that we were actually evaluating the same level that we had before. So we were on a good roll. But as you can see, from 2018 up to 2019, the drop of the sale in the real estate market in this area is practically nothing. So we had a small drop down, but it was nothing. It was nothing compared to the drop that we had from 2006 up to 2009, of course. All right. So I think the main thing, what you can see in this diagram, is it doesn't matter if there is a situation that we're heading to right now, but you can see that after all, we will always get in the positive curve. And that's the main thing, I think, if I talk to my colleagues as well, it's a main thing for the international investors as well, because there are a lot of international investors and quite well-known big investors who want to take care of the Spanish economy. So they want to take care that Spain, the coasts, all the real estate market can stay in the increasement curve that we already had. So that's a good thing overall. And I think if we're talking about secondhand, even if we're talking about new constructions, it doesn't mean that we're in this situation right now that we won't get out. All right. So I think my colleague Ross can tell you a little bit about the situation where we're heading to right now, because we're all scared.
Well,
it's another thing.
I think personally, and from the statistics that we have and what you've just explained to us, Dimitri, as well, when people ask a question, they say, "What is the risk if I buy a property now in Spain?" Well, there's two types of risks, or there's two questions. There's a yes, I will buy, or no, I won't buy. There's one thing that's very, very, I think, positive that has came out of this situation for a lot of people in a lot of households, and that is that you only live on this planet one time. You only have one chance to do things, and if you're going to buy a property, then why don't you buy it now? Because the risk factor doesn't change from today, that is going to change tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day. This, Spanish real estate, buying a property, people, as I was just saying to my colleague as well, people were saying, "Oh, will we wait?" Now, what do you want to wait for? There's one thing that people do want to wait for, and the question is, when can we come to Spain again? And obviously, you can come to Spain when the government says, yes, it's okay to fly, the flights here, etc., etc. But when that happens, for sure, from the words and from the talk that we all have in our business, that I've spoken to yourself as well, Dimitri, Ted, and also Jan, we do believe that there's going to be an influx of buyers from the same countries that have came before, and maybe even from other countries, because what people have now is than they didn't have before in the other crisis that you were just talking about, is people have more disposable cash. Now, would you agree with that, Ted? I'm sure you were on.
Absolutely.
You were at the property show, weren't you, in Manchester a few weeks ago?
I was at the Place in the Sun property exhibition in Manchester. back in mid-March, and I came back positive with an extremely positive vibe from it. The inquiries, the amount of people attending, the people looking to come out within a few weeks, within a few months, and even up to a year and a half in some places, with prices across the board. People looking for a cheap studio, right up to people looking for something up in the $500,000 bracket. It was extremely positive. And it was good to see that has always been there, especially in the UK. People watch the programme in Place in the Sun. They follow the presenters every evening. They look at what's going on and they want a part of this. It's there, and it's there to be doing it. And it's great to see the graph there, the rise in it from 2009, that it almost went beyond the huge years of 2007, 2008. We're nearly back to it, and I believe that next year we are going to surpass it. I have no doubt about that.
There was one. Sorry, Dimitri. There was one question that I had asked to me as well. One client said to me, Ross, what about the euro to the pound, the exchange rate, etc.? What's going to happen? Now, I just sent an email to the client just a couple of days ago, because he actually completed his property, and when the virus came, there was the rate to the pound was 1.03, was as low as it went, and now today it's sitting at 1.15 to the sterling pound. So the exchange rate is still there, Ted. The exchange rate is still there.
It is, and but that will always fluctuate. And my own personal opinion, if you let the exchange rate get in the way of your dream, you never buy. You've got to, if you're ready, the time is now. If you're ready, the time is now. You've worked hard. I sold a property last year to a couple who had worked 40 years. She worked in a supermarket for 40 years, stacking shelves, and they had the dream. They followed their dream. They didn't care about the exchange rate, because they had worked hard to get, and they bought a lovely house, and they're really happy inside in it. And on another note to that, I have yet to sell a property in my 10 years in this business to somebody who has regretted buying it. You know, so the coronavirus will come and go. Brexit came and went. It's gone. It's a thing of the past. People don't even mention Brexit now. And that gave a little jitter to the market. And if that hadn't happened in 2016, those figures, the graph that we're looking at there, would be a lot higher.
Yeah, of course it is. That's the main issue, I think, overall, is that people who are interesting, once they see like an obstacle coming ahead them, they are getting scared a little bit. That's because we all know that people always get scared that they got like tricked on a sale, or they don't feel safe. You know, you need to have like a person you can trust, and then because of the crisis that we had started from 2006, 2007, is that we didn't have like a good representation from ourselves, because people are always thinking like the wrong way. But it's just like you said, that you need to purchase your dreams, and you need to make sure that you had to what you had in mind before, because if you're not doing it now, when will you be doing it? If you're waiting for the currency exchange, then you will never get the chance to buy property, because you're always between, will I do it or will I wait to get myself a bargain only on the currency?
Exactly.
So I think that's the main thing, and that's the main issue at this moment, because after all, we compare apples with apples, and we're in the situation right now. Okay, but I think the main purpose of this all is that we need to take a look for what is ahead of us. And no, we can't think at this moment 2, 3, 4 months ahead. We can't think. We need to think day by day. Because if you think day by day, then you can make decisions that can be worth a lifetime, and not only just depending and thinking about what will be the value of the properties at this moment. Okay, we all know, like we knew back then, that the value of the real estate market will drop. But at this moment, I don't think it's going to make that quite a big drop that we had, only because of the bank situation right now, it is a value situation. Once again, people have spare money, people save money, they're not available, they're not depending on a bank loan, they're ready to buy. So at this moment, I think we're way better, in a way better situation than we were back then. Because even though if the money isn't there, the banks are stable and the banks are ready to take care of people who want to buy, especially in Spain, just to make sure that we're not heading in the same direction that we were heading before.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. But that maybe if we take another slide and check some other digits, we can make it clear right now. Okay, so the numbers and share transactions completed by foreigners in the Comunidad Valenciana. So I'm talking about Valencia, I'm talking about Alicante, up to the south side of the Costa Blanca. As we can see in this diagram, is that in the entire community of Valencia, the Comunidad Valenciana, the percentage of the foreigners that bought is 34%. So 34%, and that, guys, keep in mind, that's 1/3 of the entire real estate market that's been depending on foreigners, on people who buy their property from abroad. Okay, if we gonna take a look at Alicante, for example, in Alicante, as you can see as well, the orange part, the 47%, 19,448 people bought a property in 2019. That's almost half of the entire real estate market in the area of Alicante. So that's the half. So guys, it is, people will always be interested in this area. And I think that we all know why, because we are used to invest, to have our house abroad, to enjoy the vacational life that we need to have at that moment. And that makes sure that people are always interested in our area, and people are always interested in buying properties abroad, of course. So,
of course,
the volume of the transaction completed by foreigners in the real estate market in the Comunidad Valenciana in 2019 in thousands of euros. So you see a lot of digits right there, okay? Overall, the Comunidad Valenciana, we have 36.2% of the volume of transactions of the foreigners. That's almost 3.5 million euros of value that the foreigners got in this area. So that's more than 1/3 that we can assure right now. In Alicante, once again, from the last slide we saw, is that 51.8%, that's the half of the income of the real estate market in this area. So people...
Sorry, just to butt into you there, Dimitri. Just these statistics these are the statistics that it's a fact. Basically, we could say hundreds of people are coming to Spain, hundreds from France, from Germany, from Belgium, from Sweden, everywhere. But the facts are, these are the facts, and people want to come to Spain because of the lifestyle, etc. We had one question from one guy called Alex through our webinar. He asked the question, when do you think we will be able to come over to Spain again? Question, what?
Yeah.
That's a big question. You know, I just had like a temporary confirmation of Ryanair that they will start flights from the 17th of June. Okay.
The same with jet2.com as well. They said that as well.
Yeah, and I think from my experience, when Ryanair flies, everybody will fly anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so then the market will still be open. Okay, we can't say it at this moment for real, because we don't know what's going to happen. At this moment, we have a lockdown up till 26th of April. It is, guys, no? 26th of April, yeah? And we don't know what's happening afterwards. But I think we need to be confident and hope that if an airport agency says, like, they will fly in, that they will fly in, because, of course, they're losing millions as well. And I think the touristic markets of Spain in Europe is, I think, the most important market for them as well. So they can't be holding on and be waiting till what happens. You know, in different countries, they're already thinking about lowering down the lockdown right now as we speak, because not everywhere in those areas we have the same situation, like, for example, in Madrid or in Barcelona. For example, for me, I'm living in Murcia. Around here, the question is, guys, when can we get outside? Because this is actually not worth to stay inside, because as we see the digits, as we see the numbers, we're quite safe around here. So that will depend, after all, for what the government is going to decide, of course. But
We have one question as well, Dimitri. We have one talking about the virus. We have one from a lady called Jan Evans. She said, you ask people why should they now wait before buying a property in Spain?
yeah,
And her question is, well, we wait for an effective vaccination before buying. Now, this is, again, a topical decision to say what happened before there was a last Ted, maybe you have the answer to this. What happened before there was a flu, before they had the flu bug?
Exactly.
What happened? Did the world stop?
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Of course, Ross. I mean, the whole world is hunting down the solution, the vaccination to this. And my personal feeling is it's imminent. You know, the amount of scientists working on it in every single country. Every single country is looking at the moment to have the answer to this. It could happen tomorrow. That vaccine could arrive tomorrow. If it does, this whole coronavirus thing will end as quick as it started. Reality will return. People will want to do happy things again, move out and about, go on holidays, go to Spain, get the sunshine. That's my personal feeling. I think the vaccination is imminent. And as I said, it's going to be really quick, the return to normal, when that happens.
Yeah. So, guys, I just had another question from Hansi, and we think the prices will drop dramatically the next month. What is your opinion on that question, Ted?
I've been asked this by numerous clients over the last weeks by email and stuff. The reality is the value, the property, the owner will decide the value of their property. If their next door neighbour's house sold for 100,000 euros, they're not going to sell theirs for 80. Unfortunately, the best thing that we can do in that situation is, if somebody is interested in a house and they look at it and they enjoy it and they want it and they make a very low offer, we can advise the owners, but the reality is it's up to them to say yes or no if they're going to accept a reduced price for it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the other side of that is, before this coronavirus the houses were getting more viewings. People from all corners of Northern Europe were looking at properties. So the reality is, if there is a drop, my own personal feeling is it may go down by a few percentages, but it will rise again.
Yes. I think I'm quite with you on the same level as well. I don't think property value will drop the same as we saw in before the last slide, that it will drop for 40, 45 or 50%. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we can make a calculation and think overall that we will see some 10%, maybe 50%, but that has all to do with the situation right now. It's like I said before, the banks are all right. So people are not depending as well on the banks as well, because they have their value and they are prepared, because we know what happened back then, and they're prepared for what will happen now in the future. Okay, so if we can see, I have another question, just hold on. So from Hansi as well, second home is what you buy if your job is secured in your own country. So buyers will disappear and prices will drop. Can I add a little bit to that? Okay, that's the main way of thinking of people who are interested when we're heading to a crisis. Okay, so the main thing for me, and that's my personal opinion, is okay, prices will drop, and as I said before, 10, maybe a max of 50%. But if we will be waiting, okay, and the demand of the properties will increase, what will be heading within 1, maybe 2 years after the corona crisis? Prices will rise and they will explode. And that's my opinion. So that's the reason why you need to take advantage. Well, don't get me wrong, advantage, that's a big word, but you need to take care of get your proper information right now, because if you don't do it right now or within a couple of months, you will be heading to an explosion of real estate value within a couple of years. What do you think about that, Ross?
Well, I totally agree with it. I mean, we are the guys we're on the front line. We're getting all the inquiries. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I sold a property online because I mean, my business as well, I work with the international clients from Sweden, Belgium, like yourself, the UK, etc. And a lot of people have done their investigations before. So, for example, they say, okay, I have 60,000 euros. I want a 1-bed or a 2-bed apartment. Okay, they know the area, they know where the beach is, the supermarkets, etc. When we are selling these type of properties, the people are buying them for the price, for the location. And it's like to say, well, like what Ted was saying, the prices may drop, but they may not drop. But when will a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment ever be worth 30,000 euros? It's impossible. When Ted? When?
Never. Even in the depths of the crisis, Ross. Even in the darkest days when people had no money and banks were collapsing left, right, and centre, that never happened. Never,
ever. But I remember about, I'm going to say maybe 8-10 weeks ago, but before we had the lockdown, etc., in all the countries, I remember we had within our with an allegory of business, which in fact we have 7 offices, as you know, and we have, you know, a lot of about 60 staff. So we had 2 studios, Ted, and I think the price of the studio was €45,000, and every one of us was scrapping to sell it.
Yeah.
And I put my hand up and say I sold it to a gentleman from Belgium, and we didn't even go inside the property. He knew they were both such a bargain, and he bought the both of them. Yeah. So, you know, the property price, it's impossible for it to be as low as what people are imagining.
Yeah. The other thing as well to that was that even in the darkest days of the recession, properties in good locations held their value and sold. You know, so if a property was well located, easy access to beach, easy access to amenities, the value of that property didn't tumble. No. It held. Okay, it went down maybe 10, 20%, but it held and it sold. You know, so that says a lot.
So, guys, I just had a late comment from Tracy Wallace, and she said, like, the coronavirus is worldwide. Previous crash was Spanish property market. It is a very different situation, and everyone is in the same position. There will not be a worldwide property slump. Just to confirm to you guys, no?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you clarify her question? Sorry, Dimitri. What's your
no problem? So the coronavirus is a worldwide previous crash. So that we had on the Spanish property market. And it's a very different situation. That's what we were saying, like back then and right now, okay? And everyone is in the same position. There will be not a worldwide property slump.
No, she's right.
And she's right. I think she's on the same level because we're all prepared. Okay, I have another one. Just hold on. I have another question. So, from Bart de Klerk, I think he's from Belgium or Holland. Every country will face a huge growth in unemployment figures, Spain up to 20%. This surely will have an impact on sales figures, I suppose.
It all depends on the amount of time the lockdown is going to be. As I said earlier, my personal feeling is that there's a light at the end of the tunnel here. And as soon as this stops, it will return as quick as it stopped. I have absolutely no doubt about that. No doubt. So the thing of that there will be huge unemployment, which will affect property buying. That's not necessarily the case. Everybody wants to get back to work. Everybody has something to do. Businesses, cafes, everything, you name it. They want to be back doing business, and that is what will bring everything back rapidly. I believe is that people want to be back at work, and the work is there.
All right. So, guys, if you want some more information, please leave the comments down below, and we'll be attending your questions as well. So, I will be attending the slideshow. Let's see what we're heading to. The numbers of transactions and the share of transactions among foreigners by nationality. This is quite interesting, though. As we can see, Ross, the United Kingdom, at this moment,
almost
it's quite impressive.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive, isn't it?
Very impressive.
And even though we have the Brexit, still, we're heading to these numbers. People were all scared and everything. It's like...
Dimitri, sorry, one question. I can't see the Scottish line there.
Yeah, I know. They were still in the same, aren't they? So I think, no. So no.
Yeah, but the numbers are impressive. You know, almost 16,000.
And we know it. We can see it. Huh? We've got a incredibly huge communities over here in the Costa Blanca of English-speaking people. Of course. And following by that, we have France, Germany, and for me, quite impressive,
Yeah.
Romania.
Yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like, pop!
They
We're
know a
alive.
bargain when they see it.
Yeah, of course. I
Yeah.
think that's the main thing. And as well, for me, quite impressive is Marruecos, as
Yeah.
well. And then Italia. But we know the situation right now over there. But at this moment, as we were speaking, Italia still is on the market of the interesting clients who want to invest in Spain, on the coast side of Spain. And afterwards, we have the Belgium. They're coming back. I think if we see the numbers from like 4 or 5 years ago, they made quite an increment on the real estate market here in this area as well. And of course, we have the Sweden clients as well, and the Chinese clients as well. Russia is doing a little drop down at this moment. I don't know what is the reason why they dropped down a little bit.
I think maybe it's to do with the ruble. If maybe Jan can answer that question to me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think with the currency, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the currency exchange is quite important for people who are not part of the European nation right now. And then following on that, we have the Netherlands. And then we have the Nordic parts of Europe as well. But still, the main thing is what we conclude of this diagram is that even though we have a situation like the Brexit, still people will continue and do what they had in mind, even though if it's another part of Europe or even it doesn't. You know, at the end, I think it's just something that we need to take care of. It's like get documentations, the right documents that we need to have. So I think all the Brexit circus that we could follow on the media is all blown up. And for me, if we compare the Brexit, it's not the same thing as the coronavirus at this moment because actually people are dying, guys. But I think afterwards, the media circus, what they drop and what we know, like the same with the Brexit, we will get out. And we can see it right here, no?
Yeah, I just want to answer one question we have here, Dimitri, I'll answer the first part of it from Nick Alati. His question is, one of the most important things is to have a reliable, regular and cheap number of flights to Alicante Airport. Do you really think the pre-virus flights will reappear and continue as before? I have a statistic that in 2019, there was approximately 14 million passengers at Alicante Airport. That is my statistic that I just want to give you. What do you think on that, Ted?
It's an impressive number of people. It's an impressive
more
number
than
of people
1 million per month.
Yeah, it is. And that's just traveling through the airport. Absolutely. I mean, once again, the airlines want to carry people. And is it June the 17th that Ryanair have declared they'll return to flights? And I think that will be welcomed with open arms. I think the flights will be overloaded. And also people that had booked to come between mid-March and mid-June, they have flights on hold. So they will want to take advantage of their cancelled flights. I think they're valid up to the end of the year, if my facts are correct. So my own opinion, once again, is that the flights are going to be loaded down.
Yeah,
they really are.
It will be. I think it will stay the same. People want to come over, especially right now, because everybody's locked down. What do you want? This is not a vacation, guys. Come on.
Of
You
course.
have to. People want to get out, want to go look for the sun and then enjoy the life that we all know. So I don't think this is a stop, and especially because the airlines think the same, and they need to do it because they make major loss at this moment. And
what do you think, Dimitri? Sorry, the second part of the question that Nick has asked. Do you see the second part?
Yes.
About the airlines, about the financial shape to carry on. The world is a different place. What's your take on that?
The world is a different place, of course, and I think we need to be sure that if we want to travel to several parts of the world, that we need to be able to show kind of document that we're able to fly. So I think restrictions on flying, it's not going to be that much different, but I think they will ask more documentation than only our passport. Okay, and I think the possibility exists as well, as we know right now, that they will measure the temperature, and if it's not quite within regulation, then you can't fly. So I think we need to be prepared more before we fly. But
do you think, Ted, that the airlines, like we were just discussing, that they're going to be in a good financial shape, to carry on and make business and still bring people? As you said, there's a lot of people who have booked flights, and the airlines that are Ryanair, Jet2, etc., that come here, they're offering people to change the flights. That's right. So technically the people aren't losing out, and they're still on their way to Spain. Exactly.
And I mean, the two big carriers from the UK are of course EasyJet and Ryanair, and I mean they have huge responsibilities to those clients whose flights were cancelled. So those flights are going to be taken up, as well as people who once all this is over, who want to come out here just to experience it. I mean, the big orange ball in the sky will always be a huge draw for anybody, and for health reasons, if nothing more. So that's what I think is going to, and it always will carry it. People will always want to go to where the sun is.
Yeah, that's how it is. People will follow the sun. So if we go to our next slide, okay, we have the forages in Alicante, as we already saw on the first slide before, that the United Kingdom is, at this moment, they're king right now in the sun. So comparing it from 2014 up to 2018, we go from 3,200 up to almost 5,000. Belgium is following up, and also Sweden. France and Germany and Norway and Russia still stay the same. So I think we already saw the previous slide that we know what's going on right now around here. United Kingdom people, even though the Brexit is there, and even though we know what's happening, it doesn't matter. It's just a question of taking the plane and move over, get the right documentation, and enter and do whatever you want. All right? So if we go to the number of real estate transactions by key nationalities and cities in 2018, at this moment, once again, the world champ at this moment is the United Kingdom. In Orihuela, we have 1,000 purchasing of property at that moment. And in Torrevieja, it's the half, it's 500. It's all separated over the entire area of Alicante itself. Belgium is following up in Orihuela as well, and in Torrevieja, but also in the areas of Calpe, Guardamar del Segura, Pilar de la Horadada. Pilar de la Horadada is at the end of the Costa Blanca, the south side of the Costa Blanca. But very important as well is that we're entering another area that's quite interesting for the future as well, and that's the Costa Cálida. It's the area of Murcia that has been not included in this presentation, but also very interesting because I know the area right well. I live here, and I know what the possibilities are in this area as well, and it's quite interesting for the future as well.
You're right. You're dead right.
Yeah. So
there's you have a new airport there now, don't you, Dimitri?
of course, the international airport of Corvera has moved over from San Javier because the demands were too big and the airport was too small. So they made a new build international airport who's ready. And the good thing is that this international airport is very well situated as well, because from Murcia to Orihuela Costa is 35 minutes. From Alicante to Orihuela Costa, the south side, is 45 minutes. So this airport opens up the doors for that region. That, for me, it's a hidden region. It's an unknown treasure, because a lot of people don't know the area right there, and they have a lot of properties over there as well that are quite interesting.
Yeah.
So if we go on with the Swedish people and the French people as well, we know the interest in Torrevieja, in Orihuela Costa, in Alicante is always quite interesting, and people will always try to invest in that area, because we know why this area is quite interesting to get over there. So,
just sorry, Dimitri. I just have one question. We have from Tracy Wallace. She's just asking, can we have copies of the slides? Yes, no problem at all. We'll be able to send you copies of the slides. And just going back to the airport question as well, we have Nick again, Nick Alati, who's asked a question, and I believe it's been answered by JPR, another client who's online with us. Nick was just commenting again, even though the airlines are asking the UK government for multi-billion pound bailouts, and then JPR says the airlines will be subsidised by the governments, just as they did with the banks in 2007. So I think there's the answer. The government will always, assist where they can.
And also I had. Hold on a second, I'm going to show you something interesting as well. If we're talking about investments, so the family office, Masabi, announces purchases of hotels in Spain for 200 million. So we're not the only guys who are talking about investments only for clients, but also big families, investment families will be ready to help us and to make sure that this country will be valuable for their investments as well. Okay?
Of course.
So tell me.
Sorry, I'm just coming in there again, Dimitri. We have another question from Kaz Taylor. The question: share prices have dropped, therefore people do not have the same value of savings, and some people have less income / no income during this crisis. Do you think this will do you think this will have a short-term effect in the sales? Well, Ted, we were just discussing that, weren't we, about that?
We were.
The short term.
Yeah, we were. Well, look, share prices will go up and down regardless of coronavirus or terrorist activities or whatever. That's always going to happen. But the reality is about purchasing a property, in a dream property, a lifestyle property, is if you're ready, the time is now. It's as simple as that. And if you're waiting for the stock market or the currencies or whatever, life is going to slip you by.
That's how it is. That's what we said before.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait for the currency exchange, because if you wait for currency exchange, you can always wait. It's like gambling.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same as it is.
Only you're gambling with your life this time.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And that's the
You know.
difference. So guys, conclusion of the real estate market by foreign buyers in the Costa Blanca and Valencia. First point, large dispersions, a large number of nationalities who invest and will invest in the real estate in Spain. And it's not only the nationalities who will invest, it's going to be the bigger companies as well who believe in our real estate market and how we are doing things right now. As we saw before in the diagrams, we made an increasement over the last 6-7 years that is quite profitable. Then the second point, the market share of the foreigners is 1/3 of the total market in the Comunidad Valenciana. So I think it's a very important and very well-known fact that Spain will always be dependent on the foreigners who want to invest in the real estate market as well. Third point, the main buyers is a resident of a country with a developed economy. England, Belgium, France, Germany, Sweden, and Norway. But even though we saw the last figures, it's not only depending on the developed economy, it is that people made their effort to save money, to use it in the future, to invest. And that's what we saw. For example, Romania, Morocco, Algeria as well. Those are countries that are not expected to invest in Europe.
Right.
But they're practically investing, and we have a lot of inquiries coming over from that part of the world, okay? And fourth, only 50% of the buyers were from countries with a weak economy, and that's Russia and Ukraine. But even though the percentages are that low, it's still a valuable market.
Absolutely.
As we all know, all right? So the conclusions of this. The preconditions for a large-scale decline in real estate prices are not expected. No, we know all that. We assume pent-up demand from Northern Europe and the countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS. Even if we see a decrease in demand from Eastern Europe, this will not have a catastrophic consequence for the Spanish real estate market.
No.
I think we all can agree that, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We've got, Dimitri, one more question,
Yeah.
another question there from Elias van Klimpot.
Yeah.
He's asking, will the way of marketing and or visits of houses change in any way? I give you my opinion on that, and then I'll maybe pass you on to Ted. About marketing, we're marketing everywhere, all the portals. We have our own YouTube channel. We market, we collaborate with everyone. You know, our marketing can't change. There's not a different style or a different, you know, channel that you can go down that we know of at the moment. Will house property visits change? I don't think that there's any other way to visit a property other than how we do as well before, where we sell the property online, the people pay the reservation to secure it, and then they come to Spain, and then we view the property.
Yeah.
We help them with the conveyancing of the property, etc. So I don't think personally that's going to have a change. What do you think?
I can't see that changing in any shape or form.
Yeah,
People have to see and feel things.
Yeah, of course it is, but because what we're doing right now is not a regular way of interacting with our clients as well, and I think the possibility of having
and we had agreed, and we were to sign at the end of March. She was from the UK, and in the last couple of weeks, the solicitors for both sides were talking. So what we did an extension of the contract, wrote that into the contract, and both parties have signed it now. So they have agreed between them that when the coronavirus lockdown is ended, that they will sign within 4 weeks of that. the lady from the UK was a little worried that about the sterling side of it, she would get less. But as I said to her, she could also get more. So, I mean, that's going back to the original thing that we were talking about, the value of currencies and stuff. But in this case, as I said, which I did today, this was the case. Both parties want to proceed at the agreed price and sign at the notary within one month of the lockdown being terminated.
Just a couple of weeks
I was happy, I have to say, for both sides.
Good for the clients, Ted. Just a couple of weeks ago, I actually had a Swedish client, and they were fortunate that they had left a power of attorney here when they were supposed to come here, and they signed for the property. They're happy, and the seller had a power of attorney as well. So it was good. This was good. This is another advantage of having a power of attorney, making you more flexible when you're signing the property, and etc., and saving money because you don't have to come to Spain to,
exactly,
until you're ready.
I think it's a very important thing for clients to know as well, with the power of attorney, that it makes things easier, and in case, like a situation right now, if you didn't have the power of attorney and you signed a reservation contract, it's gonna get quite difficult to get things done. So, and for that small amount that you need to pay for the power of attorney to get things done, you just can ease your mind, don't worry about anything, key will be ready, and everything will be done. So I think that's an extra plus that you can do. All right,
of course.
To conclude, positive economic support measures taken by the European Union, the United States, and the other countries will not lead to a full-blown economic crisis, but rather can provoke a rapid growth of real estate over a period, increase in money supply in circulation. I think that's quite interesting point to make our conclusions. And we think we all know that we're in the European Union, and as a lot of people are thinking like, it's a better thing to leave the European Union and to not take care of it, you know what I mean? But afterwards, after all, it's the European Union who will provide all the things that are important to get our economy done and on a regular level, and make sure that prices won't be escalating immense at the end of this journey, because everybody needs to get paid, and especially the investors. So I think that's a very interesting point. What do you think, Ted?
Well, positive economic support, I mean, for which I mean, it really came into effect this week here in Spain, when people in the construction industry were allowed back to work. And I mean, it's visible now, the amount of more activity on the streets, people going out to do a day's work, basically. And that is one very, very positive thing that the Spanish government, using them as an example, has allowed. And it's got a little bit of buzz going again around the place, which is to be welcomed with open arms.
Yeah. So
sorry, Dimitri, we've got one question here from one of mine and Ted's client. It says it's from Carol Denham Jones.
Oh yeah.
Remember Carol, Ted? Yeah.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. She says, "Hi, Ted Ross. How do you think the rental side of the Alegria business will be affected with the allocation of tourism licenses, please?" Carol, DJ UK. What do we think of the rental and the tourist licenses? Do you think the government will maybe put something in place to speed up the process, or maybe not to have a tourist license for a time? Or what do you think that the situation would be with the government?
It's a good question, and to be honest, it's a question I haven't thought of. There was a backlog of approximately 4 to 6 months to apply for one. I believe that once again, I mean, talking about positive economic support, I believe that the possibility is there that they could extend the period of time where you need to get one. In other words, if you've applied for a license, there's a possibility you may not get it now for a year, and that they would look favorably on not insisting on having the license at this time.
Yeah, this is what I think as well. This is my opinion. It's my opinion.
I'm following that as well. Yeah.
It really only came about heavily in the last 12 months or so, the tourist license, and there was a big drive on them, but I think there are more serious matters to hand for the powers that be.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. So, guys,
I hope that answers your question, Carol, by the way.
Yeah, hope that answers your question, Carol, and hope you're staying safe as well. Stay safe.
Yeah.
So, guys, as we all know, things at this moment are not what we are expected to. So, I think the main thing is to keep the positive mindset. Positive mindset in a way of, okay, we all know what's going on, and will it affect our normal way of living? Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure at this moment. I've been locked down in my house. I still live.
It's strange.
With a chain from your wife locked down.
That's the only thing.
Are you in the bedroom, Dimitri?
Yeah, I've been locked down in my house, locked down in my bedroom. Know what I mean? No, but it's just like, guys, if you have something that has been on your mind, just keep proceeding it. We have all the figures, all the digits, and that's what we know, what people want to see is figures and know what is actually going on, okay? So this webinar will be sent to all of the guests who were here for their interest, that they can take a review over it. And you can all find our phone numbers and the main email address down below. Don't forget to sign up for the Alegria YouTube channel with a lot of interesting and new coming property videos, as well as all-round information that you will be needed to get everything done over here in Spain. And we will keep you updated on the situation right now as we know what is going on. Okay, guys? So, Ross, Ted, and Jan,
Thank you very much. Adios.
And guys, I hope to see you soon